Hugh, I don't want to speculate about who might have leaked the opinion. I do think we need to get to the bottom of it promptly. Again, whoever leaked it, I suspect, is not well trained in the arts of espionage and misdirection. I doubt that it'll take very long for skilled investigators, such as the FBI has, to figure out exactly who did this. And I said there should be severe consequences. It's just another example, though, of how the far left treats abortion as a singular issue in our politics. You know, Justice Scalia used to talk about how the court has an abortion-only jurisprudence that warps and distort all of its other cases, for instance, free speech and free assembly cases. And now, apparently, there are some people who are willing to breach trust at the Supreme Court to such a degree that there's really no precedent. I understand there have been some leaks in the past, but typically they tend to be retrospective.
Yes.
Or they are not on such consequential matters.
I actually have never seen this. I am teaching con law for 25 years. Justice Alito brings up the question of impact of a bad decision on other areas of law. You just alluded to that. One of the reasons you overturn a bad precedent, even when it's 30 years old as Casey or 50 years old as Roe, is because it's distorting the law in order to preserve it, which is what has happened on free speech, for example. Demonstrations have to be so many yards away, things that are never accepted in any other category of law except abortion jurisprudence. So it's a persuasive opinion. What do you think Republicans, there are Republicans running today in Ohio, right? They're going to be asked this by a media that is very pro-abortion rights. It's impossible to deny the reality of the media. How do you counsel them to respond to questions about this today and in the coming weeks?
Well, Hugh, I'm reminded of what our friend Larry Arnn says in response to claims that perhaps Shakespeare didn't write Shakespeare's plays or sonnets. Whoever wrote them was pretty darn smart. And while I don't want to speculate about the reasons for this leak or where the court is in its deliberations or where this draft opinion is, whoever wrote it is pretty darn smart, and they understand our Constitution, and they understand the point I've always made that Roe is an anomaly in the court's jurisprudence. It was a right invented out of thin air, contrary to hundreds of years of Anglo-American legal practice. It also, as the opinion suggests, has had a very distorting effect on our politics. Many states were moving in the direction of liberalizing their abortion laws in 1973 when the Supreme Court short-circuited that process of democratic deliberations and compromise. And, of course, if the court does, in fact, overturn Roe and Casey, contrary to some of the hysterical claims of my liberal colleagues in the Senate, will not all of a sudden impose a far-right vision on the country, as one Democratic senator said. It would simply allow state legislatures, elected representatives of their people, to make their decisions on this question as they do on so many other questions. I suspect California will have a fairly liberal abortion regime. States like mine will be more protective of unborn life. States like yours in Virginia will probably fall somewhere in the middle. That will be the outcome of healthy democratic deliberation and debate among the people's representatives, opposed to 9 unelected judges in Washington.
Let me raise a very obscure point, but one which you've alluded to. If the Chief Justice requests the FBI, I can't imagine them doing this because we have separate branches here. The FBI would ordinarily investigate a leak on this magnitude, but the Chief Justice and his colleagues may decide, no, we'll leave it to the marshals. Because it's not automatically within the purview of the FBI to investigate this. Do you agree with me on that?
No, I don't think it's automatically, Hugh. I'm not sure the marshals are equipped to conduct that kind of investigation or will be directly responsive to the Chief Justice. I'll leave it to his hands and the hands of the court as a whole to decide how they proceed in that investigation. But the investigation must occur, and the person who leaked this draft must be held accountable.
Now, I agree with all that. I want to go to what Byron York and I disagreed on. Byron used the analogy of an earthquake. It's a double earthquake. The first earthquake is the draft decision. The second is the leak. And like the earthquakes I've gone through before in California for many, many years, they matter a lot in the moment. You fear for your life and you overreact often. and you buy the earthquake preparation kit, and then it's gone in a month. You're not thinking about it. What do you think the impact on politics in the United States is if the draft opinion becomes the court's opinion?
Well, I think the pro-life movement, millions of Americans who have toiled in the vineyards for 50 years, trying to protect the most innocent people, will feel that their work has been vindicated, that sometimes labor that seems hard and the results seem remote, will see that labor come to fruition, having worked over the years to elect pro-life presidents and a pro-life Senate majority. I would remind you that Donald Trump said explicitly in the 2016 debates with Hillary Clinton, he thought Roe was wrongly decided and that he would want the Supreme Court to ultimately overturn it and return this questions to the states where so many political and legal questions reside under our constitutional system. So I believe that millions and millions of our voters and activists will see fruits of their labor and will be even more mobilized this fall and in the years ahead. Will some on the left be mobilized as well? Yes, but I would also point out that when the Supreme Court allowed a Texas law to stand, I believe stopped abortion after 6 weeks last September, Democrats predicted this would be a political earthquake and it would lead to a wipeout of Republicans in special elections and the off year elections in places like Virginia and New Jersey, and the exact opposite of that happened.
You know, I'm so glad you brought that up. Proclamations of political doom are always overstated, always premature, and they always revert to the mean. And the mean is that many activists on both sides of this issue will be energized, but inflation remains the constant in everybody's life. And the ability to provide for your family, the real one, not the theoretical one, the real family, is uppermost in people's mind. I'm just curious if you think there's going to be a withering away of the issue, which is what I think is going to happen. I think the states are going to go about their business and activists will activate and work in the states, but that it will actually yield calm, not more storms.
Well, this is the point that this reported draft opinion makes, the point that Justice Scalia long made as well, by seizing from the state legislatures, the people's elected representatives, this question of abortion in 1973, and then reaffirming it in 1992. The court did not settle this question, as they wrote in Casey. They only supercharged the debate because they did not allow the natural process of deliberation and compromise that occurs on so many other questions in our society to occur on this question, again, as it was in many states in 1973. So I do suspect that in many states they will reach a compromise and they will have a set of laws that govern the practice. And although there will always be some on either side that try to revisit those, it is usually the case the people's elected representatives deliberate and reach a compromise that is satisfactory to the maximum number of people. And if not, then obviously through the democratic process of electing new governors and new state legislators, the process will continue.
Last question. I think this is so difficult to swallow for so many people is because it validates the election of Donald Trump. And before that, the decision of Mitch McConnell and you and your other colleagues in the Republican caucus not to hold confirmation hearings for any nominee. It wasn't Merrick Garland specific. It was any nominee because the people were going to decide. And the constitutional majority went to Donald Trump and he appointed 3 justices and they are going to rule this way. And that means the never-Trumpers were never right. Do you think that's what burns so many people on the center and the right, Senator Cotton?
Well, I wouldn't try to get inside their head, Hugh. I would just say that it just as you've seen in the last 12 hours, but you've seen it for years now, a concerted effort by liberals in America to try to stigmatize and delegitimize the court. You know, with Chuck Schumer going to the steps of the Supreme Court and yelling at the justices, prompting the Chief Justice to issue a rebuke in public. Efforts to pack the court, which were renewed last night. People rushing to the Supreme Court last night to protest this as well. I worry that the justices, at least the 5 justices who are reported to be in the majority, should now now need round-the-clock security details, at least until a judgment is issued. This is all part and parcel of the left's effort to intimidate and delegitimize the Supreme Court. It's one of the most dangerous trends in American politics.
You are so right on that note. That's a very sober note. I conclude. Thank you.